Hello my Wolfpack and welcome back to another episode of our Pokemon Competitive Guide video. So today we're covering Volcanion. Volcanion is a really fun Pokemon to use. It is really cool. It's got base 110 in its attack, base 120 in its defense, base 130 in its special attack, obviously its biggest stats, so it can be either physical or a special sweeper. Having really high defense means that it can obviously live a few hits. Base 80 HP isn't too bad either. Then you've got base 90 in special defense, meaning you can live a couple of hits as well. And also base 70 in speed, which does make it kind of possible to use as a choice scarf user potentially. But before we get started today, if you could scroll down, click that like button, also subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really would help me out and I'd really appreciate it. Okay, 5 sets today. So, set 1 is Choice Specs. You could potentially run this as a Choice Scarf variant if you wanted to. The only ability the Volcanion has is Water Absorb, but it's still a fairly decent ability. It is neutral on you. Excuse me. It is neutral, but it does allow you to get some health back potentially, especially if you can switch into it, and it does give you an immunity to it. So, whilst naturally it would be neutral to you, you do have an immunity to it because that Water Absorb heals 25% of your health instead of causing you damage. Now, attack-wise on this set, as I said, Choice Specs, you're wanting to get as much power out of this as you can. I put Fire Blast on here, powerful Fire-type attack, boosted by Stab. You could always go for Flamethrower if you wanted to have the accuracy. It is the debate whether accuracy over power in this case, and it comes down partly to your personal playstyle. I've then put Steam Eruption on here. Steam Eruption is a phenomenal move. It has base 95 in accuracy, but it's a really powerful attack. Basically, it's a powerful version of Scald. Base 110 in power, and then a 30% chance to burn the target, which, yeah, is basically Scald just on steroids. So, Steam Eruption is probably one of the best moves that it does have. It can be utilised really, really well. The only issue is that slight accuracy drop, and if you're the kind of person like me that always panics when there is a move that has 95% accuracy because you miss it 95% of the time, you could always go for Scald as an alternative. That's definitely a choice you could make if you wanted to. You've got Earth Power, which is a strong ground type attack. It hits things like rock types, which are obviously super effective against you. And it can just hit really hard in general. And then you've got Focus Blast, which is a powerful Feisty type attack that just gives a little bit more coverage to hit a few more different Pokemon you may not have been able to hit beforehand. Your only big concern here really is ground types. You don't really have much coverage for ground types, but you do have coverage for the electric types and for the rock types. And off the top of my head, I think those are the only 3 weaknesses you have. Possibly more, but I think that is it off the top of my head. Obviously, you've got coverage for 2 of them, but the ground types are potentially going to be a problem. You could always chuck Air Balloon on this thing if you wanted to. That would allow for you, obviously, to not get hit by the ground type attacks until you're hit by a move that pops the balloon. So that could work very nicely for you. Now, EVs, there are 2 ways of running this, depending on if you're running Choice Specs or Choice Scarf, or in general, if you're just wanting to have a faster variant. So you could go for a bulky variant, which is max HP, max special attack with a modest nature, so more special attack, less attack, and 4 EVs in special defense. Now, that is better with the Choice Specs in particular, but it might be a case that you want it to be faster. For example, you've got sticky webs on your team and your opponent's team is just pretty slow. You could potentially run a max speed variant, and that would allow you to outspeed quite a few different Pokemon that might not be running that speed investment. And if that was the case, I would recommend going for max attack, max speed, either a timid or a modest nature, depending on what you want to go. If you want more speed, then go for timid. If you want more special attack, then go for the modest nature. But it's up to you which one of those you decide you want to go for. If you're choice scarfing it, I would probably lean more towards going modest, but at the same time, timid wouldn't be harmful because you might outspeed a few more different Pokemon. Again, it's coming down, like, I mostly play draft format, so it's coming down to that calc of what Pokemon you do need to outspeed, potentially. But yeah, the Choice Specs obviously allows it to hit harder, but the Choice Scarf allows you to hit first, but you do get locked into a move, so do be cautious on that. As I said, Air Balloon's an option. Even things like Life Orb are an option on this set as well. Moving on to the second Volcanion, I have gone for a defensive set. Now, obviously, Volcanion has the ability to burn 30% of the time, which with Scald and Scorching Sands on its attacking moves here. I believe, actually, I'm not sure if it gets Will-O-Wisp. Let's just double check. It does get Will-O-Wisp if you wanted to place that on this set to have the ability to burn to make yourself incredibly defensively bulky, But I like the idea of going for Scald and Scorching Sands. Obviously, Scorching Sands covers 2 of your weaknesses, as we covered with the Earth Power. Leftovers on here to allow you to heal yourself up, because that could definitely be helpful. Defog to get rid of hazards. Now, if you're running Air Balloon or Heavy Duty Boots as well, you could potentially do that and combine it with Defog really nicely. Defog, obviously, with Stealth Rocks, you do take 25% damage on income, so do be very cautious of that. Obviously, Heavy Duty Boots, if you wanted to run them, are definitely an option here. Then you have Roar, which is a fantastic move. Obviously, it's minus priority, but typically with your slower speed, it doesn't really matter too much. And if you've got a lot of hazards stacked up on the opponent's field, you can use that Roar, get them out, get a different Pokemon in. Or if you are, obviously, as you're defensive, if it's a really strong physical Pokemon, you could definitely run that Roar if they've just been setting up Sword Stances, for example. So get rid of them. Scald, strong stab, water type move, and it has a 30% chance to burn. You could go for Steam Eruption here if you wanted to. I just wanted to show off the fact that you can use a 100% accurate move that has the same effect. And then you've got Scorching Sands, as I said, 30% chance to burn, and also gives you that coverage of 2 of your weaknesses. In fact, I don't know why I said ground types are a huge problem. A Scald hits ground types with super effective damage. I had a mind fart there, which obviously shows. But yeah, I've remembered now. Water is super effective against ground, so you have coverage for all of your weaknesses. EVs on this one go for max HP, max defense with a bold nature, so more defense, less attack, and 4 EVs in special attack. This is as defensive as possible, especially if you get that burn off on them as well, because that halves the attack power and will allow you to live a lot of hits. And if you've got that leftovers there, it allows you to heal up quite easily. You could always go for max HP, max special defense with a calm nature, so more special defense, less attack. If you wanted to be more defensive on both sides, obviously once you've got that burn on the opposing Pokemon, that will half their attack power, so you're taking less damage on your defensive side, and your specially defensive side is just maxed out in general. So there's 2 different ways of running that. Personally, I would probably run the max defense variant, because I normally run a defensive Pokemon and especially defensive Pokemon on my teams, but you can run that however you decide to run it. Moving on to our third Volcanion, we have got a physical set. So as I said, base 110 attack is a pretty nice attack stat, and I've gone for Life Orb here just to give you that little bit of boost. You could go Choice Band if you want to, or again Choice Scarf. It's up to you what you decide to go for here, but there's a variety of different items that you can run. Basically any item that I've mentioned in this video so far can be run on basically any of these Volcanions. So, move-wise, we have got Flair Blitz. Flair Blitz, powerful stab, fire-type attack. It does recoil yourself with damage though, so do be cautious of using it. You could potentially go for like leftovers or even things like Citrus Berry to allow you to heal yourself up either at the end of the turn or when you're less than 50% health, and that would give you obviously the ability to use Flair Blitz potentially a little bit more. So Flair Blitz is a good option here. Other than that, I don't think there are many really good physical fire type attacks that it gets access to. You got Heat Crash, which is based on weight, so again it's a little bit inconsistent with it. But yeah, other than Flair Blitz, that's the only thing that you can have access to. Liquidation is a powerful stab water type attack, and it hits really hard on a lot of different Pokemon. Obviously, water type just has pretty good coverage for like rock types and ground types as well. Earthquake, powerful ground type attack, again covering those electric type weaknesses and also the rock type weaknesses, which your water type also covers. And then Stone Edge, just for a little bit more coverage. Obviously, it does have the chance to miss, so you could replace that with something else. I think it gets access to things like Body Slams. If you want to get the paralysis off, you could definitely do that. You've got Brick Break. If you want like a fighting type attack, you've got things like Facade in case you're worried about getting burned. You've got Heavy Slam as an option, which again, obviously more situational based on your weight compared to the targets. Superpower, even things like Will-O-Wisp could potentially be an option here as well. To work really nicely. You could potentially run a mixed set here. Now, I'm not all for running mixed sets, but this is definitely a Pokemon that could run a mixed set. It could run kind of like a max special attack, or max attack, and then it could have a variety of moves like Steam Eruption, Flamethrower, then Earthquake, for example, but it just depends on what you're predicting your opponent to bring. EV-wise for this one, I would recommend max attack and max speed with a Jolly nature, so more speed, less special attack, or an adamant nature, so more attack, less special attack. You could always go for the max HP, max attack variant with an adamant nature if you wanted to. Obviously, you can vary these sets as you see fit. Now moving on to the fourth set, this is a Dynamax set. I've gone for the heavy duty boots here because obviously you do take damage on income when you come in, and when you are Dynamaxing, you probably want to be as maximum as your health as possible because otherwise you're going to risk losing a lot of health. So, Water Absorb again, obviously is your ability, as I said, it's the only one you have. And then we have Superpower, which turns to Max Knuckle, increasing up your attack stat by 1 stage. Earthquake turns to Max Quake, increasing up your special defense by 1 stage. Heavy Slam turning to Max Steel Spike, increasing up your defense by 1 stage. And then Liquidation, which allows you to set up the Rain if you need that for any reason. Honestly, the Rain can be really effective in a variety of different ways. Especially if you have like a Scizor on your team, for example, because that is not going to want to deal with any fire type attacks. But yeah, the idea here would be to set up your attack, your your attack, your special defense, and your defense, and to be able to live a few more hits and hit really hard. Now you could always just go for like Max Knuckle 3 times and really destroy the opponent's team, but that's obviously up to you. And it's not necessarily just going for a setup here. You could potentially replace like Heavy Slam with Flair Blitz, for example. So you have that strong fire type attack, which hits really hard as well. Just be cautious, obviously, we're using the Max Flare and the Max Geyser, because if you've got the weather set up on one and you're going to change it to the other one, you'll have that reduced output because of how the rain works with like fire type, how rain works with fire types, and then how sun works with water type attacks. EVs. On this one, I'd recommend going max HP, max attack with the adamant nature, just so you can live potentially a few more hits. Having that higher HP means obviously you're going to take less percentage damage, but you could always go for the max attack, max speed variant if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you how you decide to go for it, but I personally would recommend going for the max HP, max attack. And moving on to the final Volcanion set, I've put a red card on here. I really love putting red card on Dynamax Pokemon because let's say that you've Dynamaxed on your turn 1 and you've gone for an attack, and on that turn your opponent has switched out. They then hit you with the red card and they get switched into something random. And then they potentially have to switch out again on that third turn to get into the different Pokemon. So rather than being hit by two attacks, you're only hit by 1 attack, which you're more likely to survive. Obviously, if it's a really strong electric type Pokemon like Koko or like Regieleki, you're probably less likely to survive, but that's just an option there. So I really like running red card for that reason. Move-wise, I've gone for Sludge Wave, which turns to Max Ooze, increasing up your special attack by 1 stage. Flash Cannon, Max Steel Spike to increase up your defense. Earth Power goes to Max Quake, increasing up your special defense. And then Flamethrower as an opportunity to set up the Sun. You could always go for Steam Eruption as well as a powerful water type attack, and also the ability to set up the Rain. Obviously, if you're wanting weather on your team, you can definitely choose which one of those you want with Volcanion if you're Dynamaxing it. But yeah, the idea here would either be set up your defenses or set up your special attack or both, and then just kind of go ham on the opponent's team. Now, obviously, you are a bit slower, so you are potentially going to be taking a few hits, so there is the option of running like the max special attack, max speed variant in this one, probably with a timid nature, so more speed and less special attack. But again, if you want to live those hits, and you're not worried as much about the speed, you can go for max HP, max special attack with a modest nature, so more special attack, less attack, and 4 EVs in special defense. Anyways, that is all for Volcanion, so I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please do like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Anyways, I'm out of here, so have a good one, and I'll see you soon.